Hey Downers! From now till the end of the year, you can join the Downers Club and support the show for as little as $1 a month. As a club member, you'll get all of the bonus episodes that we do every single week and access to our exclusive Downers Club Facebook group. This is a limited time offer, so get in there before 2018 and check out all the fun we're having for just $1. For more information, check out tsidpod.com/support. The following is a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
Welcome to the System is Down.
Welcome back to the fakest news on the web. The system is down. My name is Paul Joseph Watson, and you can tell that I'm smart because I have a British accent, and I'm also standing in front of a map. But you've probably never noticed those things because, let's be honest, the only thing you can focus on is my oddly voluptuous and juicy lips that writhe around in a seemingly free-form fashion. Today's episode is a continuation of the discussion about my good friend Bill Hicks and his oddly striking resemblance to my daddy, Alex Jones. The first part of this discussion started way back in episode 16, which obviously begs the question, what are they trying to hide? Why does it take a whole 3 months to release 2 hours of audio documentation? Could it be that they had actual things to talk about in the meantime that were more important than my daddy, Alex Jones? Or is Dan actually a shill himself? I have my suspicions. But whatever the case, you should probably go back and listen to episode 16 before listening to this episode, so you'll know what the actual is going on. Both of them culminate together to make the downfall of Western civilization, which is complete and utter horseshit. But with all that said, and without further ado, let's get weird. So, Keaton, before we got cut off, we were talking about Alex Jones being just a blowhard out in public and shutting people down that probably agree with him on things. And I made the comparison of him being an old-timey evangelist who shouts out, hey, you're going to hell on the street corner, and see you later. Deal with it on your own.
I was actually going to bring up that similarity, being I guess a preacher myself. There was always those stereotypical preachers that's like fear-mongering. But that's very much a Southern thing, too, I think. No offense to Southern people, JB. Yeah. I was going to bring up, too, it's actually funny you were bringing up Alex Jones yelling at people in a megaphone, because I was looking at doing a little research before this because I wanted to touch up on my Alex Jones knowledge, unlike what I did for the 9/11 thing. And I just walked in blind like an idiot, and there was facts everywhere. And I was like, shit, I forgot.
Oh. But, hey, I did the same thing. It's all right.
he actually got arrested in New York for operating a megaphone without a license, because apparently in New York you have to have a permit to use a megaphone. Yeah, you actually have to have a permit, not a license, a permit to use a megaphone in New York. He got arrested.
Doesn't surprise me.
This is the same people that fine you for drinking too large of a soda.
Hey, no victim, no crime, right, Dan?
Absolutely. However, I can see maybe noise ordinance stuff, but it's ridiculous, no matter how you slice it.
So this guy literally has a bullhorn that he freaking gets his message across with.
Yeah. I'm surprised he doesn't literally have a soapbox that he brings along with him, too.
A box of soap that he puts out, stands on with his bullhorn.
Yep.
It's a box of brain force that he uses this thing.
So you could sell it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
JB,
like brain force. Where are you at, Dan?
They used to sell.
JB, what are and you said that you hadn't seen the videos. What are your thoughts on that? As the designated guy who didn't agree to be the Alex Jones defender, go ahead and defend him.
I mean, I want you to send me that, because I've been looking on YouTube and I can't find anything like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious to see it. I mean, I've watched some of what's the guy that people say that he is? reincarnated essentially from.
Bill Hicks.
Yeah. I've watched some of that too, and I mean that I think is kind of ridiculous. But I mean, I can see all your points, and you're having me think through some stuff and question some things too.
Sure.
Which is healthy.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Dan was saying, the yelling doesn't really bother me. I mean, I like fiery preaching too. So I think it just goes along with that. So I don't know. Anything's possible. I just know I like the guests that he has, and it's true he doesn't really take a hard stance on a lot of things, but I think he's also trying to be a commentator. I mean, like I remember when the Trump sent the missiles to Syria, he wasn't very happy about that, but he tried to like get in the mind of Trump and explain why he might be doing that.
Yeah.
So I mean, the people that say he's like Trump fanboy, hardcore, will never turn away against him, I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't know. I'm torn about a lot of this stuff.
Yeah,
because I see both sides in him. Like I could see why you would say that, and I can also see times where he says, "I don't really like where Trump's going with this, but I'm going to stand behind him because I think that his heart's right." Is sort of how he sort of portrays it.
Yeah, and I do agree. Like, even if he is controlled opposition, or bought out, or shill, whatever you want to call it, I think a lot of the things that he says is true. I think that he is speaking truth to a lot of topics, like Sandy.
Surface level.
Well, on like Pizzagate and stuff like that, like he digs pretty deep into it, and
he was like the Pizzagate guy.
Yeah. I don't know where he stands now, but yeah, I kind of think that he's giving, I would say 75% probably accurate stuff. Even though he's making it, I think that he's making even that stuff overly sensationalized because it gets better ratings. But I think that his avoidance of certain topics is kind of my biggest issue. That if you aren't just going for ratings, if you are just trying to give people truth, if whatever, I mean, I know we talked about it pretty extensively, but he really cracks down and avoids the things that he doesn't like to talk about.
When I say surface level, what I mean is I think he knows a lot more than what he says, and you can see that on the Joe Rogan show. I mean, we didn't really get much into it, but when he was asked about aliens, like he was getting asked and asked and asked about aliens, and then he finally broke down from what he knows the quote unquote globalists and the elitists believe.
Globalists.
Globalists. I think there's like if you listen to Stephen Quayle and Tom Horn and some of those people, that's what I mean by surface level. He's presenting what on the surface I think a lot of conspiracy theorists get into, but there are issues he doesn't touch, like you were saying. But even on those issues that he does touch, I think there's deeper truth behind it,
right?
That he doesn't even get into. And when he had Steve Quayle on, I was kind of let down because at the end he was like praising him. Like saying this guy, every time I have him on, like as far as his knowledge into intelligence and all this stuff, he's spot on. And he's like, there's some other stuff I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about some of the stuff. And he kind of like brushed off some of this.
Sure.
So that's the stuff he should. That's the stuff he should at least mention.
Yeah.
Right.
But he carries the stuff in his store, so I mean, people have access to it. But I think
too. Big thing is he's known as the conspiracy theorist guy, but I think he's much more of and this is very open. He's much more of a political guy than he even is a conspiracy theorist guy. I mean, he ran for state representative in Texas for like a week or two, and then he dropped out. But he said he was going to run for state representative of Texas.
Yeah.
But I think he's far more of a politician, and I think too, and this might be a little bit more leaning towards the side of like giving him a break and playing the devil's advocate. But the guy can be a politician and only go so far with conspiracy theorists, or you can be a conspiracy theorist and only go so far with politics.
Right.
When, in all honesty, conspiracy theorists venture into every aspect of life. Right. But he's got to, like we said, he's got to think about ratings. He's got to think about his support because, from what he mentions, he's not getting any quote unquote monetary assistance from like mainstream media and government and stuff like that he says.
Yeah.
So he's got to be very mindful. You know, I've worked for a nonprofit organization before, and I've worked for churches before. That you got to be careful how deep you get into certain things, because
even without that, I think I mean, like, if you're going for what makes the most, what do you think keeps you in the mainstream media's eye, even if you're not a part of it? Is it conspiracy stuff or is it political stuff? Because most people don't want to even touch conspiracy stuff because of what people like Alex Jones are making it out to be.
And I think his biggest problem is he was first known for conspiracy theorist stuff, and then he jumped far into political stuff and left the true conspiracy theorist stuff. Because I think there's fundamental truth to the whole globalist thing that he does, and he gets mad about. That's pretty good. I mean, you can't deny that he gets mad about stuff. I mean, he goes over the top, which you know I personally wouldn't do, and I can't see Dan hulking out over things on his like podcast.
We'll see how long this show goes. I might get into 3-hour live daily podcasts where I have nothing better to do with my time than rip my shirt off and tell people about my products.
I will not keep hanging out with you if you keep ripping your shirt off, because that's just a waste. That's a waste of shirts, first of all.
Right. He reminds me of. Do you guys remember the old YouTube video, the Power Thirst video? Does anyone remember that? The Power
Yes.
Thirst. Sometimes when and even earlier before this show, I was watching his live stream because I wanted to see what was going on, and I typed his name into YouTube, and he was doing a live stream with Milo, and he was talking to Milo about a lot of stuff, and a lot of the stuff was you know, cool, down to earth stuff. But I felt like he had to force like every chance he could, trying to, you know, if you go to my website and donate, we can keep doing this. And if you go to my store and buy his book, or if you go, like he shoved it in there, and I could tell even Milo was getting a little annoyed because he was cutting Milo off.
Dude, yes. He
cuts everybody off. That's his.
He admits
MO.
it at least.
Yeah, that is one of my
his MO.
biggest issues.
Big time guests on these big time specialists on, and he'll be like, "What's your opinion on this?" And this guy will start rambling on his opinion, and within like 3 sentences, he's like, "I'm gonna cut you off right there. I'm gonna bring you back, but let me talk to you about super vitality, whatever."
Super male vitality. No, it's not even just like pitching his products. He'll be like, "Well, what are your thoughts on the Russian hacking?" Well, I think that the Russian hacking might not hold any water. Well, yeah, obviously it doesn't hold any water because blah, blah, like, even agreeing with them and talking on topic, he just...
conservative talk show host doesn't do that. I mean, Rush Limbaugh, Neil Bortz, Michael Savage, Levin, they all do that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's a strike in the conspiracy side. I'm saying that is... the strike and the just shut up side.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Right. Well, because I can see it on these podcasts, because there's 3 guys on Skype. We're not there face to face. There's lag time, so we're gonna cut each other off.
We're gonna cut each other off. I was talking about
exactly.
that.
Obviously, we're gonna cut each other off.
So, like, I can see that, but like when you're there face to face with someone, or like side to side, like he does in his interviews.
Yeah.
Because have you noticed that he doesn't really face people that much?
He stares into the camera.
Forward. Yeah. It seems a discrediting to the guests that he has on, because he just cuts them off. Because what he did was he was talking to Milo about building up a conservative, like true conservatism. Because while he claims to be a libertarian, he also claims to be a paleo conservative, which is like a base level conservative or whatever, I guess. But he was talking to him about that, and then cut off into just some off the wall topic and asked him how he felt about and then God knows Milo brought up Trump, and it was like, oh my God. he as soon as Trump came out of Milo's mouth, Alex Jones was like, yeah, because Trump is president. And I was like,
he's a maverick. God. A maverick, I tell you.
He's a stallion. A Mustang stallion.
He's a white supreme stallion.
That doesn't take away from his verification. It just kind of annoying. And I get that he's doing 3-hour shows, but
Right.
guy, let your guests finish a sentence
Yes.
before you just jump in.
That's kind of the point of having guests, so you don't have to talk for 3 hours straight. You can let the guests talk. That's why they're there. But
Well,
yeah.
I know
How
what
would
I'm
this
watching
podcast
tomorrow.
be? How would you this podcasts be if it was just you talking about?
You're right. How would this
all these
podcast be if I was just always talking?
Oh man, I just found a video of the Alex Jones deception. It's an hour-long documentary.
Yep. There's a lot of those.
Oh, wow.
I love documentaries. Look up what you want to look up is Eric Dubay. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that right.
Not this episode, Keaton. Not this episode.
Sorry.
Anyway,
Sorry.
you were talking about how like his, I don't remember who said it. JV, it might have been you, it might have been Keaton. Somebody was talking about how they got like a live stream or something. I'm still subscribed to his page on Facebook, so I still get notifications every time he does a live stream, which, good God, it's like every 3 hours I get a notification that is like, the world's gonna end, World War III, closer than ever, imminent demise to you and your family, you're gonna die, you're gonna fucking die.
Sensational
Like
headlines.
every single thing. And he talks about
Yeah.
all these other fake news, like clickbait, stuff like that. It's like, you cannot tell me that that's not what you're doing here. Like, cause you'll click on it, like it'll be total clickbait. You'll click on it because sometimes he'll post something that I'm interested in, like something that seems contrary to his normal opinion. I'll be like, okay, I'll see what that is, and then it ends up being a joke, like him joking about that, like giving his satirical point, like, oh, I am a globalist shill, and blah blah blah, and then he'll go on ranting sarcastically about it. It's like, you can't tell me that you're not doing that just for clicks.
Hey, here's one.
So you have
Child
to-
beheading
this-
causes Trump to shut down.
So Trump's not operating right now.
I guess not.
You need to literally name this podcast Alex Jones, globalist shill ?
Alex Jones is Donald Trump.
He's a reptilian alien that changes into Donald Trump during the day, and then he's Alex Jones at night.
Dude, we're gonna get into that. If nobody has anything else, I would be. Okay, Craig, go.
What? Well, we were talking about, before we get into the really crazy. You all were talking about his fanfare that he puts on his the big show and how he makes a big deal about everything. We can't fail to mention Y2K, the Y2K episode. We got to include that in there because I don't know, Keaton and JB, I don't know how old you guys are. Like, do you guys what do you? So yeah, you. Keaton, how old
It
are
seems like
you?
we're all pretty close to the same age.
I'm 26.
So, but you remember Y2K?
Oh, absolutely.
What bad shit do you remember about Y2K? What happened? What was the bad stuff that happened?
Bombs were going to go off and all electronics were going to shut down and everyone was going to die.
What really happened? What happened on January 1st, 2000?
I stayed up till
think I went to
midnight, and
bed.
that kind of sucked.
Oh yeah, nothing.
I went to
happened.
bed and then I woke up the next day and everyone was like, "Oh no, it's it's still coming."
Well, there is that time traveler that said that happened on another timeline, and that was supposed to happen here. But
Gosh.
invented.
According to Alex Jones, there's a completely
Mandela
different
effect.
story about what happened that day, between the 31st of 1999, December 31st, 1999, and January 1st of 2000. Apparently, all this bad stuff happened, and the world almost came to an end because of Russia and all. I didn't even know we were still had a threat between us and Russia at the time. Like you guys said, I'm 33. What I
Old.
remember is I'm sorry, I'm the oldest one here. What I remember is there was this big fear that things were going to shut down, and then it came, and then it went, and nothing really happened. According to Alex Jones, if you listen to his show, it is insane because according to him, the world was coming to an end. Vladimir Putin, what did we call him? The ruthless, Vladimir the ruthless Putin.
Vladimir the
was,
Conqueror.
Well, no, he seriously called him the ruthless. was pointing nuclear bombs at us, is about to shoot, and I think it even went as far as the Russians have launched nuclear weapons towards us.
Yeah, they did.
And
Really?
yeah, this starts out as through his 3-hour. I think he was in his 3-hour daily show at
I have
this
to
point.
watch this now.
Yeah, you got to go. You
have
actually
to.
have to go watch. Just Google Alex Jones Y2K episode because it is ridiculous. Because
Now, Craig, I'm going to cut you off real quick. Yes, he was absurd. But in the Joe Rogan interview, they brought that up. Eddie Bravo brought it up and was like, so what was going on there? What the hell, man? And I'm going to say this, and you can dispute this, obviously, but Alex Jones said that he was working for a radio station, which the last time we recorded, you and I talked about this. I didn't know this, but I just listened to it today, and Alex Jones does say that the radio station that he was working for, like some of their sponsors, some of these end of days products that were sponsoring the show as a conspiracy show, they were telling them, you need to talk about Y2K. You need to make this this a deal. Like, you need to trump this up and play into that because we think that it's a thing and it will help us sell our product. So feel free to continue, but yeah.
however, this guy had people moving out of their homes and moving to the country from the city. That's how big a panic his listeners were going. Yeah, it wasn't he wasn't getting his quote unquote 60 million listeners that he's getting now, but the listeners, the mass listeners he was getting were in widespread panic. He did work it up to these people were leaving their houses and moving to the country and like digging in and settling in for basically an apocalypse because he had them believing that nuclear reactors were shutting down, which in reality, one nuclear reactor shut down for a minor incident, and his
They were out of
words
money,
were,
and they were just like, we got to shut down. Just happens to be right around Y2K, or Y2K.
yeah, it just happens to be on the day. But he actually said that because somebody called in, the incident was some lady called in saying this nuclear reactor, I think it was in Pennsylvania, has shut down for a minor incident. And he blew that thing. He carried that story for hours for the whole show saying there's no such thing as a minor incident for a nuclear reactor shutting down. They don't shut them down because it takes days to turn them back up. Something big is happening. And he said the words as Y2K unfolds. Every time he'd go to a commercial break, he's like, we'll be right back with as Y2K unfolds. Like something was actually unfolding. Like something big was actually happening. His lines were cash machines are failing in Britain and other European countries, finding large amounts of explosives in France. There was all this stuff and he mentioned some war that was going on and thousands were dying in Chechnya. Yeah. That war was going on before Y2K. That had nothing to do with Y2K. He just happens to bring in the biggest, most elaborate people dying scheme going on and tied that in. Yes, it might have been because they pressured him into selling their products for like the end times type products, but that you got to take responsibility for that. Right. That's on you.
Yeah, and
you just caused mass panic.
And I could take this a couple ways. Like, obviously, as a guy who likes conspiracy stuff and wants everything to be conspiracy a little bit, I'll freely admit that maybe he was trying to scare people again and make money off of it. But there's also the side of he's a conspiracy guy, and this even goes against what he said. Possibility number two is what he said is correct, and people that were higher up than him were saying, you need to trump this up a little bit, you need to make it a bigger deal than it is. Even if it goes against what you really think, you need to do that. Maybe that's the case. And there's also the possibility he was wrong. Like, he's a person, and I don't know why I'm here defending him at 10:51 at night, but maybe he thought, everybody else is scaring everybody with this thing, and I'm the guy who is supposed to scare people on a deeper level, so there's probably something to this. I I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about the Y2K thing because there's a lot of ways that could explain his outrage away in that situation, but that doesn't really change my opinion on him now.
The fact is, we all woke up January 1st and nothing had happened, and he came as far borderline saying, maybe even saying that Russia had launched nuclear weapons. I mean, you got to check your facts. I mean, if you're supposedly a legit media personality, you got to check your facts before you make statements like that.
See, and that's a serious allegation, but it's funny to me because that's like an amateur move. Like that reminds me of like late at night sitting on YouTube and scrolling through quote unquote conspiracy theory YouTube channels. Like I'm trying to think of some ones that I follow that propagate fear. There's one called On Point Preparedness. I'm not going to give any unwanted
plugs.
Yeah, plugs.
I'll bleep it out.
There are some that I follow. That every single one of their videos is like, "In the end times is right around the corner," and like September 2007 end times. Like it's always the same thing, and that seems like to me like Alex Jones now is like, this was 17 years ago, but he was still a bigger name. But that's just like, dude, that's like a noob move. Like that's
that
like,
was only 3 years into his career.
That's fair. Yeah, that's true. It was like, yo, dude, that was like an amateur YouTube account, which I mean, I know YouTube wasn't a thing, but like, I mean, it's always been the same thing with that style of conspiracy theory stuff. It's always end times. Like the whole May 20th thing. What was that, a couple years ago? The world was going to end on May 20th. Pastors were telling their congregations that this was happening. They had locked on to the end time prophecies from the Bible, and that 100% May 20th of 2000, whatever it was when the world was going to end. Yep. And these Christians who are supposed to be Christians were so scared they were rioting. They were not only rioting,
they were literally there was pet insurance. There were people taking out insurance on pets, so their pets would be taken care of after they are dead, which
Mayan prophecy. Christians are believing Mayan prophecy.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
it's just mind-blowing.
It's not.
Are we talking about like 2012, like the end of 2012?
Is that what we're talking about? I don't know.
No, it was a different one. I think it was 2000.
There's something every year.
So many.
Seriously, there's one this year in September 2017. Is it September?
I feel like the world has ended every year since 1990.
They keep pushing it back because they keep getting it wrong, and then they say, "Well, our calculations were off by 1 year, so this time."
We didn't accurately read the Mayan calendar. We didn't take into perspective that the Mayan calendar leaves out this month and this month, so it's actually going to be this year and this month here.
Yeah.
So now it's September of 2017. So everybody get ready.
And Nibiru's going to come around, and the Anunnaki are going to take us all away, and we're all going to die.
Yeah, and all of this is, in my opinion, money. Even we were talking about Alex Jones back in 1996, or around the Y2K era. In his conversation with Joe Rogan, like there are people, I think JB, you might have even made this point, that he's not making as much money as we think or whatever. Like it all goes to his company and sending people out to do the amazing work that they do. I don't know. I'm putting words in your mouth, but I'm okay with it. I'm going to keep going.
I think I said that in the Facebook group.
Yes. But in his conversation with Joe Rogan, when he's talking about Y2K, he's like, oh, these people, they're telling me that I got to do this. I got to talk about Y2K. I got to make this big scare tactic. I got to do that. And they convinced me that it was a real thing. And I was convinced that it was a real thing. And he was like, and then I was only making like $20,000, $30,000 a month. Pause. Hold on. You were making $20,000, $30,000 a month off of that back then, and now you've got what you have now, and you're trying to tell people that everything goes back into paying for plane tickets for people to do investigations. Like, There's no way. There's no way that you're not bankrolling off of this scare tactic, that you're pushing more hardcore now than you were back then.
I've actually heard him say on his podcast when he's promoting his products, he's like, go to my page, support my products, because we need money, is what he's saying. And he flat out says, I'm not talking like $1 million or $2 million. I need like $50 or $60 million to keep going, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what do you need?
What planes are you taking?
$60 million to support. And he's like, this isn't going to me. This is going to InfoWars and to expand InfoWars. I'm like, that's absurd to me if you're trying to get us to believe, oh, none of this is kicking back to me. Buy my product. I need $60 million, but none of this is in any way supporting my family or my finances.
Right. InfoWars better be running on like self-sustaining energy if he's getting $60,000.
Support his sponsors in that way.
$60
He's got to have crazy generators.
I'm saying. Well, and how many bases of operation? That's just, see, to me, that almost seems like a coup. Is that the right word for it? A coup? It's like it definitely controlled opposition-y. That's where, it's definitely like, because I mean, what's another large organization that some of the people just demand money for? Like instantly, I think of the big complaint is like mega churches, and I just saw one last week. So like, I would liken Alex Jones to like the Joel Osteen of conspiracy theorists.
Oh,
like
that's great.
He's like the Joel Osteen, except Joel Osteen tells people you can have whatever you want and everything's good, but he's like selling the opposite.
Yeah, Joel Osteen might be the controlled opposition of Christianity. He's probably got about 75% right, but his end game is completely in the wrong
25.
direction.
25%.
Right.
I don't know.
Well,
I've not listened to him for real.
Right, and I would say to oh, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead. I was gonna say something that was relevant.
Hey, Dan Smots here. I'm taking a second to interrupt myself talking to talk about myself because, I don't get paid a penny for the hours and hours that I put into creating this show for you guys in your greedy little ears, and I've got a family to feed. To make that happen, I run my own media business called Goulash Media. If you have a need in anything from video production to graphic design to audio production and beyond, you can get it all for a painfully fair price at Goulash Media. In video, I do weddings, music videos, commercials, pageants, plays, etc., etc., etc. For design, I do photo editing, album art, logos, branding, business cards, merchandise, you name it. For audio, I do engineering, production, editing, jingles, and, well, podcasts. So if you've got a media need of any kind, or if you'd just like to give a little something back and help keep my children fed, check out all the endless options at my website, goulashmedia.net. That's goulash, Goulash, media.net, where we cater to the little guy with the big vision. Okay. So, yeah, JB, you had made that statement, which you're not wrong. Like, that's totally what he preaches, so I don't hold it against you. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think that he has huge financial gain from the scare tactics that he does? And, what's your stance on that?
I mean, I can only speculate, like you can.
Right.
I mean, that's the first time I've heard anyone say that he's mentioned numbers. I'm sure he makes a decent living. I mean, if you ever see his videos from his library, I mean, who has a library like that in their home unless it's a pretty banging home?
Sure.
That's very true.
But I mean, those operations do take quite a bit of money. I mean, I was just on his website. How many people does he have working for him? It looked like 20, 30 people working for him. He has, overhead for the building. He's sending people
the bunker,
different cities.
Right. Well, and I was going
to expand it. He wanted to do something in DC too. He wanted to put a facility in DC.
I remember what I was going to say too. Like, is he? This is almost like this is barely relevant. But who's worse for it? Is he worse for pushing this fear agenda? Or are the people that are paying that much money the ones that are really, doing the wrong? And as well as I do, JB, I mean, Steve Quayle and Tom Horn tell people, listen, this is what we want to do. We want to fly people to these ancient sites. We want to take people to Mount Graham. We want to do all this stuff and investigate this stuff. Just donate. They don't ever use numbers. They don't, really demand, they don't want to say we're fighting the globalists. They say
Globalists.
the globalists. They say we want to investigate. We want to do research. We want to do this, and they do it too. But they don't ask for, what'd you say, $60 million, $50 million?
Yeah.
That's almost
Yeah. But I mean,
That's more like the pastor. I don't remember his name.
But they had
Creflo Dollar.
Conviction.
It's more like Creflo
God.
Dollar, the pastor who says,
yeah.
"I need a better private jet so I can go preach to people."
It's like I've got one private jet, but I need another one, and God's going to give me that one.
How much do you think InfoWars brings in per month? Just guess.
We could probably find out. There's probably a internet statistic. Craig, get on that. Keaton, go.
I'm sure JB already has this information. in front of
Joe
him.
Rogan, get on that shit. Look that shit up. That's what he says.
Unfortunately, we're not all in the same room, so that's a little bit harder than Joe Rogan has it.
Yeah, I know.
That is.
Well,
we have to
he
do a
has-
podcast in your house.
He has 19 contributors. Okay, those are contributors. Those are like reporters, correspondents. I guarantee you, he probably has another 10 people at least.
Yeah, but Alex
stuff.
Jones is the guy who acted like, from what I could tell, that $20,000-$30,000 a month isn't that much. So, how much is he paying his employees, and why?
I don't know what he had going on at the time.
InfoWars is worth $74 million. The website alone is worth $74 million.
Well, the website is worth that. I just wonder what they bring in. I don't know enough about finance to know how that correlates to.
Craig, can you look up how much Alex Jones himself is worth?
Yeah.
Craig, look that shit up.
Why am I the only Googler here?
I'm
You
on my
always
phone.
get to it faster than anybody else can. So,
And I'm on my phone, so it's all you.
well, Keaton, you can barely keep a freaking internet connection, so I'm not gonna ask you for more than I can get.
Alex Jones' net worth is $5 million. Just him alone, not his site, not his company, not anything to do with InfoWars. Alex Jones' net worth, which is his take-home pay, he's worth $5 million, which isn't a lot compared to the elitists and the globalists, but it's $5 million.
How does that break down? What is that yearly? What is?
He has that net worth is usually your assets and your finances collectively, what you have, like
After
what
all
you
is said and
have
done.
right now.
Here's an
If you
article
sold-
from.
If you were to sell everything and give up everything,
Okay.
he'd be worth $5 million.
Right.
He's still a millionaire who claims to be a martyr.
Yeah. So there's an article from May 4th that says Salon's Alex Seitzwald estimated that Jones was pulling in as much as $10 million a year between subscriptions, web, and radio advertising and sales. So let's say $10 million a year as a company is what they're making.
Michael Savage's net worth is $18 million.
Yeah, well, those two things, in my opinion, I have no idea, but those two things don't seem to add up. That he's worth $5 million, the company's worth $10 million, and he's paying people.
His company is worth $74 million.
Well, JB just said company is worth $10 million, right?
So the company, it says that
they bring
they're
in 10
they're bringing in $10 million a year.
Gotcha.
So man, I don't know what I wonder what their operations cost to run monthly.
Well, that's equipment, space, stuff like that is in the net. So it's very easy to think that they make $10 million a year. And plus, is that $10 million a year just off of their main like donators? Is it, you know what I mean? Like,
It says
there's
between
not really a way-
subscriptions, web and radio, advertising, and sales was what that was.
okay,
their
so it's not their like donators or their okay. So I mean, there's not really a way, especially as are they a tax free? Are they I forget the
Nonprofit?
name of it, but are they a non-for-profit organization technically?
I doubt it.
I mean, is that information available?
They can't
I
possibly
don't
be.
know. I doubt it. No, I seriously doubt
What
that.
is their cause?
Honestly, we can't say a whole lot of. I mean, he's $6-7 million that his net worth is. It seems like a lot, but you look at, like I said, Michael Savage is worth 18 million. Rush Limbaugh, who we brought up a couple times, his net worth is $470 million. So, I mean, yeah, he seems to be in it for the money, but obviously he's not nearly banking what some of these other MSM elitists are making. So.
We'll let that slide. That's fair. Yeah, and I'm a libertarian. All for capitalism. If he can make the money, no matter how he's doing it, good for him. Whatever. Who cares?
Right.
Doesn't mean I don't think he's not in it for the money, but yeah.
It brings up the opposite point. If he's not in it for the money, then the only logical explanation is he's in it for what he's peddling. He's in it for what he's giving, not for what he's getting, which is almost scarier.
Sure.
Yeah. It's almost scarier.
Oh, are we going to talk about Bill Hicks?
Oh, you know we're going to talk about Bill Hicks. So, the moment that all the people who know about the existence of this theory have been waiting for, we're like 40 minutes past the time that I was trying to bring this up. But once again, I would be remiss if we didn't bring up the idea, the conspiracy theory, that Alex Jones is Bill Hicks. JB, I know you think this is completely absurd. Explain yourself. Go.
Me? I mean, I've watched like 2 videos on it, and I was just kind of like, I don't really think I have a whole lot to bring to this discussion.
So, yeah, I don't necessarily believe this. I think it's far-fetched, but extremely entertaining at the very least, very compelling. But Bill Hicks died in 1994 of pancreatic cancer. Alex Jones's first radio show was in 1996. Every time that this theory keeps being brought up to Alex Jones, he laughs about it and says sarcastically, "Oh, obviously, yeah, I'm totally Bill Hicks." Like even on the Joe Rogan show, he said, well, like I mentioned earlier, he said, people say there's a flat earth too, so, obviously this isn't true. So they had Bill Hicks and Alex Jones at the beginning. I don't know where Alex Jones is now, but they both had the exact same producer, which was Kevin Booth. They are from the same city, well, close to it. Bill was from Houston, Alex was from Austin. Same talk points, like Bill Hicks, for those who don't know, was a comedian. He always railed on like the globalist establishments and stuff like that. Like talked about all the exact same things. They have like very similar physical things about them. Bill Hicks and Alex Jones both have like same neck moles and same teeth structure, like things that if you were investigating a crime scene, you would say that's that person based on their teeth. Like,
well, they're going by pictures.
Investigator.
Yeah, well, they're going by pictures, but he's got like his lower canine teeth. Both of them have like their lower canine teeth are like jutted out, like very similar teeth structures, and
same gap, same tooth gap, and
yes, same gap, same talk points, same whole bunch of stuff. Man, this is like so hilariously compelling. Like the only thing that makes me think that it's not true is the voice difference. How could you possibly keep that Alex Jones voice going for 10, 17, 18 years?
I never really got into Bill Hicks too much, but I recently clicked on one of his Netflix specials and I went to watch him. He walks out on stage and he picks up the microphone. The first thing I expect out of his mouth is his jowly, Alex Jones's jowly Star Wars Episode 1 Boss Nass voice to come out of Bill Hicks, just because of the similarities in their looks. And I know his voice wasn't going to sound like that because I know what Bill Hicks sounds like, but the similarities are so compelling that it's just like I watched so many videos of Alex Jones ranting and raving. So when Bill Hicks came out on stage and picked up the mic, that's the voice I was expecting to come out of him. And surprisingly enough, it never came out of him.
Except for if you listen to Bill Hicks when he gets on his rants and he starts yelling about things, in my opinion, then he sounds almost exactly like Alex Jones. JB, I want to know your thoughts on this.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
That sound wasn't him vaping. That was his sigh of disgust. No, that was a real
sigh. I don't know. It's possible. It's possible. I don't know. I mean, if the theories about him being controlled opposition are true, then it would make perfect sense.
Sure.
But I don't know. I don't feel like I've done enough research into it, and
it's ridiculous. But it's so entertaining.
It's less ridiculous to me than the flat Earth.
Oh, so you're on board. Keaton, are you gone?
Keaton.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
The scary thing to me is Bill Hicks, in one of his later episodes or stand-up shows, he actually had this thing where he said people like Rush Limbaugh, these radio hosts, these political radio hosts, they're where the money's at right now. If I was to basically start over again, I would do that.
He basically said, if I were to do something different and want to make money, I would become Alex Jones.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, he randomly dies of cancer, which was months after his final live show that he did, in which he never mentioned he had, which that's one thing or another. Maybe he just didn't, maybe he didn't know, maybe he didn't want to make that public, but he randomly dies mysteriously, and a couple of years later, borns Alex Jones.
Wouldn't you think an investigative journalist would somehow dig into Alex Jones's past and prove this to be true if it was true?
Well,
That's
people
what
have.
They want you to know.
People have. There are very little photos of very little childhood photos of Alex Jones. There's a yearbook photo that honestly looks photoshopped, and I'm not saying that as somebody who wants to believe it. Like, it looks photoshopped. Like, there is a picture of Alex Jones in this yearbook photo, and there's a light glare that goes on the whole page, but in his photo, the page doesn't, like, bend. Like, his photo doesn't bend and warp to where the page should go. And other than that, there's, like, nothing that people have given for evidence of Alex Jones' childhood. There have been a couple of people who have said on Twitter, if you can send me that yearbook, I will pay you $3,000 for it. And they have not received that yearbook, which would only cost maybe $50 to duplicate and send to them.
He's got nothing.
Well, I'm completely useless at this point.
He's looking up the picture.
Looked into that theory.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures.
I've never looked into that theory either, so I'm completely useless at this point.
It's all right. It's such a hilarious, preposterous theory, but
It's food for thought, though.
yeah.
But I'm going to have to call it early, guys, because my baby's waking up, my 4-month-old, so I'm going to have to call it early for this one for now, but
All right.
hopefully I've given you enough for a part in this.
The CIA. The CIA is calling him and telling him to shut it down.
Yeah, I have a little 2-foot agent here yelling at me.
You should question that baby later. But Keaton, thanks for coming on, and we will
Hey, thanks for having me.
bid you farewell. I'm glad that we got you back in because I always appreciate your opinions on things. So, yeah, thanks for coming on, Keaton.
Hey, thanks for having me. I look forward to coming on again. You guys have a great night.
Absolutely. We'll see you, man.
See you, man.
The other issue with Bill Hicks, Alex Jones is that the age difference. If you look at pictures of Alex Jones supposedly right now is 43 years old. He looks, I don't know, maybe it's because of the stress level he puts on himself, but he looks like I mean, he looks like he should be at least my dad's age, which is roughly 55, 56, which coincidentally, surprisingly enough, is right about the age Bill Hicks would be right now if he was alive.
Well, yeah, and on the Joe Rogan interview with Alex Jones, Joe Rogan brings it up humorously. He's like, well, people think you're Bill Hicks, and he was like, obviously you would have, I'm going to do my best Joe Rogan voice, obviously you would have had to have had like a whole bunch of plastic surgery, and you would be what age right now? Oh, like 10 years older than you would be if you weren't Bill Hicks. Alex Jones looks older than he claims to be anyway. Maybe that's just kind of like the presidential aging thing where Obama goes into the White House and 8 years later he looks like he's like 40 years
20
older.
years older. Exactly.
Maybe if you put yourself under that level of stress for a million years, you're going to look a lot older. But you can't say that he has to have a lot of plastic surgery, because that plastic surgery means that they made him beefier, but they also left the neck moles in and left his dental records, look, from what I can tell, looking pretty similar to Bill Hicks.
Yeah, what I get out of that is, as far as plastic surgery, all they would have to do is add like 20 or 30 pounds, which could happen in a couple of years, and then shoot his face full of Novocaine to where he can't control his lips, his lip movement, and then you have Alex Jones. It's perfect.
Yes, and again,
it's not that much plastic surgery.
Yeah, and again, my biggest issue is the voice. Can you imagine being a guy like Bill Hicks and then trying to change your persona and talking like Alex Jones your entire life and railing about everything? Like, any interview he goes on, any 5-hour, every single day podcast, he's got that voice. Maybe he wrecked his voice over time because he was trying to change things.
Maybe his chain smoking wrecked his voice because Bill Hicks was known for his chain smoking.
Could be. If you look at old episodes of Alex Jones's show, where he's like a young, spry guy back in the early days, he's like, he has a different voice. It's not so raspy. And there are some people who will say that Alex Jones was a different guy who started a show and was taken out by the globalists and was replaced by Bill Hicks, who is a CIA agent who took over the show.
Oh, that would get so deep into Bill Hicks, who's completely against all this stuff, becoming a CIA agent. That alone.
Well, this whole thing gets into Alex Jones selling out to what he's railing against too. Same idea. Yeah. JB.
Man, I'm you got me deep into this, like looking up, I'm reading all of this, looking at all these Bill Hicks versus Alex Jones pictures.
It's compelling, and the very least is compelling. You got to admit.
Yeah.
JB, give your full stance on Bill Hicks, Alex Jones, in the last 5 minutes of research that you've done.
My stance is there's a lot of compelling evidence, but I mean, you can't just go. I mean, it's just theory. I mean, like any theory, there's some things that are true and there's some things that aren't, and you're never really going to know. It could be true.
Yeah. My stance is it seems extremely compelling, and also I really hope that it's not, because Bill Hicks was so great, and Alex Jones, if that's what he turned his career into,
he's the biggest sellout of all time.
For $5 million a year? Come on.
My stance on this is I hope there's not a world that exists where Bill Hicks turned into Alex Jones.
Yes.
I mean, the evidence is compelling. I'll give that to you. And I've looked into it that more than I've looked into just Alex Jones himself. But I like Bill Hicks. His personality I can relate to, and his temperament I can relate to, and the stuff
His obnoxious,
he brings up.
overblown temperament that he brings to the stage. Very Alex Jonesy.
But it's
Yeah, I'm
it's
gonna
still-
watch one of his videos. I've
it's
never
still-
even watched Bill Hicks.
It's still enjoyable, and I don't want to live in a world where Bill Hicks is Alex Jones. That's my stance. That's where I'm leaving that. I don't want to be in a world where Bill Hicks decided to sell out and become Alex Jones.
Yeah, I totally agree. We'll give JB a second to do a little bit of research, and then I'll give my final thoughts. Go ahead and watch the video. We'll cut it up.
I mean,
I don't know. I mean, they look kind of similar, but they don't look
kind of similar.
Yeah,
He looks like a young Alex Jones. You
Yes.
got to admit, he looks like a young Alex Jones.
Yeah, well, I'm watching him, and then I'm coming over here. I'm looking at 12 years ago, old Alex Jones.
Which would have been like 8 years after Bill Hicks died.
Well, this was published in 2009. It said it was 12 years ago, so it was
So this was like
1997.
it's like 12.
97 is what it's because it says 12 years ago is this video.
97, which so a few years after.
I can't make a conclusion based on this.
I mean, I haven't made a conclusion
You
either
could-
because
you
I don't
could-
want that to be true.
You could have some minor plastic surgery and make him look like that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like I said, Joe Rogan is saying, "Oh, did you get major plastic surgery to look like Alex Jones?" No, really, all it takes is adding a couple pounds, and you kind of look like the same guy. Not saying that I believe it, and I don't want to believe it, but it doesn't take major plastic surgery.
They could, in the very least, they could look like brothers, like a couple years apart brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, my final theory, and I don't remember who started this theory. I don't think it was me. It might have been Mark Claire from the Lions of Liberty podcast, but I think, and I'm going to say this definitively, I 100% believe this. My theory is that Andy Kaufman, do you guys know anything about Andy Kaufman?
No.
No.
Just what you've told me.
He had this alternate persona that he played that was Tony Clifton, which is basically him in a fat suit. Honestly, it was like a Donald Trump back in the day. Like, there are even comparisons online of Tony Clifton to Donald Trump, and people saying Donald Trump might be Andy Kaufman still alive in Tony Clifton's suit playing Donald Trump, because this is absolutely absurd. So my theory is that Andy Kaufman plays Tony Clifton for a long time, and then he turns that character into Donald Trump, and then he takes that character and continues both that and Bill Hicks. Andy Kaufman plays Bill Hicks, and then he turns that into Alex Jones. And this is all just an elaborate Andy Kaufman joke, because he was completely absurdist, like the driest humor ever, and that's my theory. I think that's the case.
Basically, what you're saying is you're expecting at some point Andy Kaufman comes out as the what's his name, Joaquin Phoenix in that movie.
Yes.
where he played a crazy person, and then everyone thought he went insane, and it was all for this documentary movie, and he comes out and it's like, surprise guys, this was really me.
Yes.
And you're expecting at some point Andy Kaufman is going to come out and be like, surprise, all these characters were me. I am Bill Hicks, I'm Donald Trump, and I'm Alex Jones.
Yes,
all in
absolutely.
one.
He's going to unzip the Donald Trump suit, and then eventually he's going to unzip the Alex Jones suit as well, because they're both let's be honest, Alex Jones and Donald Trump, they're basically the same character with different facial features. Eventually, they're all going to unzip their suits and surprise Andy Kaufman. Thank you very much.
See, if anything could come out of Bill Hicks being Alex Jones, it would be the scenario you're posing right now. That would be the only positive scenario that could come out of this.
Yes, that's why I hope it's the case. JB, weigh in on this brilliant theory.
This is as bizarre as it gets.
You've moved on to PBR, so
Don't talk about my drinks.
I don't know.
It's not just
12:30.
PBR. It's a warm room temperature PBR.
Oh god.
And it has a blue ribbon.
Any final thoughts from the two of you that have stuck around for this mindless nothing rant?
We're like 2 hours in, and I'm like exhausted, and I think we've exhausted the topic.
Yeah, and JB, I'm sure the next time I ask you on, you're gonna probably decline.
Like, fuck no.
Yeah.
It'll
Craig
be
and
at 10
I-
a.m. on a Saturday.
Craig and I slug it out way after everybody is all gone to bed because it's fun for us.
Oh, it's fun for me too, man. I enjoyed it. I'd love to talk about aliens and giants.
Absolutely. I would love to have you on back to talk about that. Any final thoughts on your Alex Jones stance?
I would say he's entertaining, and even if you don't like Alex Jones, I think his show is worthwhile, even just for the people that he has on.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I don't mind his rants.
Yeah.
That can be your deal or not. But he does have some truth on his show. Whether it's all true or not, that's up to you to decide. He's definitely entertaining.
Absolutely. Well, JB, thanks for coming on. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
man.
for big rambling nonsense that we did here.
All right, man. See you guys later.
Yep. Have a good one, man. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end. I hope you enjoyed that nonsense just as much as I did. As Paul Joseph Watson said at the beginning of the episode, this was recorded quite a while back, so some details might be inaccurate. Probably a lot of them. So whatever. It's just a fun topic to dive into, and I think we thoroughly well exhausted it. So don't expect a Alex Jones episode 3, but unless some more crazy stuff comes out. And if you guys have any more information, any more things that agree with what we're saying or disagree with what we're saying, just any evidence to point us in any path, feel free to share it with us, and you can do so by joining the System is Down forum, which you can find by going to tsidpod.com/forum, or you can go on Facebook and just type in the System is Down forum, click to join the group, and if you look like a real person, we'll get you in there right away. The forum is just a place where we talk about all things uncomfortable, a lot of the stuff that we talk about on the show. We also talk about different guests and ideas for things to do with the show. And of course, if one episode a week is just not enough for you, we do a whole bunch of bonus audio content weekly, which you can get access to by joining the Downers Club, which is currently only $1 a month. So you can go sign up for that at tsidpod.com/support, and that will help us grow the show and expand and get advertising out there, get bigger guests and better audio equipment and everything. So if you want that, you can again go to tsidpod.com/support and join the Downers Club now. In addition to all that, of course, as always, please go to iTunes and subscribe to the show and leave us a nice review. That is extremely helpful in boosting our numbers and getting the word out there. Also go to Facebook and Twitter. Facebook is fb.com/the system is down. Our Twitter handle is at TSIDpod. So go like, subscribe, share, follow, all that fun stuff. Do all of that, and I'll be back here first thing next Monday morning with another episode that'll probably be way better than this one. Until then, question everything and stay uncomfortable. Thanks. This has been a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.